This is Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition, Feast or Famine, Part 2. When we left off, Angela was taken in for questioning, and Q and Michael were rushed to the hospital after the explosion at Amoura's. LJ informs Q of Amoura's murder and that Angela is suspect number 1. The Queen Mother says to Q, "Son, I'm going to go out and speak with the nurses to check on my grandson. You okay?" Of course, she said that in her typical patois, but I'm going to spare y'all. Q said, "Medea, I'm good. Just let me know what's going on with my son." When she headed out, Angela came in. "Oh my God, Q, are you okay? What happened?" Q said, "Love, I'm good. I'm just worried about my son and you. You all right?" Angela said, "I can add this to the list of one of the worst days of my life. Before I could even get in the house, the police were waiting for me. I thought that they were there because Amoura called the police because I whooped her tail. But come to find out, it was worse." Q said, "Yeah, I know what happened. But what happened at the station?" Angela said, "I did what Regina said, and I didn't say a word until Ron got there. You know he's our frat brother, right?" Q said, "Yeah, he was a student at Central when I was at A&T. Angela said, "Oh, okay. Well, I waited for him to get there, and when he got there, he did all the talking, and I did all the listening. I hope you know, our little rumble aside, I would never." Q said, "Love, I know better than that." Angela said, "I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" Q said, "I'm fine. A few little scrapes and bumps and bruises, and they worried about a concussion," but Angela said, "Babe, I'm not talking about physically." Q said, "You kidding, right? I would never wish being blown up in a car on my worst enemy. Amoura may still have had love in her heart for me, but I ain't want to be there. It's trash in there. Ain't no love lost between me and her. My only concern is the impact that it's going to have on my son." Angela asked, "Does he know?" Q said, "Nah, I actually just found out. LJ's the one who told me." Angela asked, "Does she have family? Is there somebody we should call?" Q said, "Look at you. You just beat the hell out of that woman, and now you're worried about her family. This is why I love you." And he did his signature move, and Angela leaned over and kissed him passionately. Q said, "Love, we gonna have to stop meeting like this." And the two of them chuckled. LJ, who was still in the room, said, "And y'all gonna have to wait till y'all get home and do all of that." Angela said, "I feel like my life is either feast or famine. Either everything is wonderful and I couldn't ever ask for more, or my whole world is completely upside down." Q said, "Well, this time around, you don't have to do it alone. I got you. So what's Ron saying?" Angela said, "Well, he's saying that the police have absolutely no evidence that I'm involved in any way in the explosion. But apparently, one of the neighbors saw me there and heard the whole fight and you walking me out to the car and Amoura yelling out the door. And they're trying to put 2 and 2 together and come up with 5. LJ said, "Don't worry. We'll find out who's behind this. In the interim, I need you to be safe." Both LJ and Q are retired law enforcement. While Q is no longer executing arrest powers, he is currently an employee for TCOL, the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. And both he and LJ are private investigators with their own firms. LJ says, "As soon as Q is stable and we know that Michael is out of the woods, we're going to get some folks on this. And absolutely do not talk to anyone in law enforcement about this case without Ron present. Don't talk to anyone about this without Ron present." Angela said, "But how could they even connect me to this when I don't know anything about explosions or bombs or cars or any of that?" LJ said, "The burden of proof is on them. But we're going to do whatever we need to make sure that you are no longer on their radar." At that moment, the Queen Mother and the pediatrician came in. The doctor said, "Michael looks good. He's got a few bumps and bruises and a few cuts, but they're mostly superficial. He doesn't even need stitches. The MRI came back clean, and we don't see any signs of internal bleeding, but we do want to keep him overnight for observation, and we want to keep you too. Q said, thanks, Doc. I appreciate it. But you're not my doctor. The only way I'm staying here is if I can stay in my son's room. The doctor said, no problem. We can arrange that. Let's go ahead and get you and your son reunited. LJ and the Queen Mother headed to the waiting room, and Donovan and Veronica came in. Donovan said, damn, bro, you love hospitals, don't you? Q said, shut up, man. Veronica said, you okay, friend? Q said, yeah, I'm good. Donovan said, how my nephew doing? Q said, he's good too. They're going to keep him overnight, and they want me to stay too, so in a minute, they're going to send somebody in here to move me to his room. Donovan said, that's what's up. So you all in on this father thing, huh? Q said, of course I am. I missed over 8 years of my son's life. I don't plan to miss another moment. And now, I'm going to be a single father. Donovan said, I thought you and Amoura were going to share custody. What happened? Q said, Amoura's dead. Donovan said, damn. I heard Angela went over there and beat her up, but I didn't know she killed her. You said she didn't kill her, boy. Don't even joke like that. It's a lot going on right now. Donovan said, my bad. I wasn't even joking. I was just confused. So what happened? Q filled them in. Donovan and Veronica were both in shock. Veronica asked, dang, who would have it out to get her like that? Q said, yeah, I told you. She was messed up. She was in something. There was a lot more going on than her just hiding my son. But I'm going to get to the bottom of it. Donovan said, you don't think Angela... Q says, cut it out, man. I already told you. Donovan said, okay. I was just asking. Q looked at Veronica and said, you all right? Veronica said, yeah, I just haven't been feeling so great. Donovan said, that's because I've been keeping her up late. Q and Veronica just shook their heads. Patient transport came in because it was time to transfer Q to Michael's room. When they were settled in the room, Pops Andy came in to check on his son and his grandson. He said, son, I've been updated on everything that's going on. How you holding up? Q said, I'm good, Pops. I'm just worried about my little man over here. Michael said, I'm good, Pops. Pops Andy said, I'm glad to hear it, grandson. Pops Andy looked at Q and said, son, there's no time like the present. Pops Andy sat down and helped Q explain to Michael that his mother was dead. As expected, he was confused, he was distraught, and he felt lost. But his father and his grandfather were there to reassure him that he wasn't alone, that he had family, and that he had a place in the world, and that they would be there to support him. When Michael asked Q if Amoura was in heaven, Q said, that's something you're going to have to ask God, son. I don't know. What I do know is she loved you with everything in her, and all she ever wanted was to keep you safe. When Michael fell asleep, Pops Andy asked Q if there was anybody in Amoura's family that he knew how to get in contact with. Q made a call to one of his PI agents and put them on finding Amoura's family. Unfortunately, Amoura was an only child, and both of her parents were deceased. Her only remaining relatives were aunts, uncles, and cousins with whom she didn't necessarily have the best relationship, so there wasn't anyone to bury her. When Q and Michael were released from the hospital, Angela said, so what are we gonna do, babe? Q said, let's talk to Pastor Corey and get something arranged. If nothing else, Michael deserves that closure. Without a body to bury, a memorial service was held that same week, and Q focused his efforts on helping Michael begin his new life. Because Q initially met Amoura through Deuce, his friend and frat brother from college, he was the one who broke the news. Deuce and Amoura were friends since high school. They grew up in the same small town in Georgia. Surprisingly, Deuce had no idea that Amoura was even in Dallas, nor did he know that she had a baby. According to Deuce, he lost contact with her shortly after they both graduated. Whenever he would contact her, she was distant, unavailable, and acting strange. He admitted to Q that he chopped it up to the rumors that he had been hearing. Listen, man, some of my partners was telling me that she was getting around after you moved from Greensboro when you got hired on at the police department. Y'all both were my friends, and I didn't want to get involved. Eventually, I stopped hearing the rumors She relocated and y'all were engaged. So I didn't see any reason to open my mouth. Q said, so you had no idea that she was involved with Captain Arrington? Deuce said, hell no. Now, if I knew that, I definitely would have told you. Or at the very least, I would have talked to her and made her tell you. What I knew was that Captain Arrington was a dirty one. He tried to recruit me too. But I knew too much about his dirty dealings on campus. I wasn't touching that. I had law enforcement aspirations, but I didn't want to stay in North Carolina, and I definitely didn't want to work with him. Q asked, so why you ain't tell me he was dirty? Dude said, man, I thought you knew. Honestly, I figured you just found a way to work around it. Because a lot of the people he was dealing with, you didn't deal with. It was a not so well known secret that he was the plug on campus. And a lot of the folks he was supplying was folks we ain't rock with. It was also a pretty well known secret that he was smashing mad honeys on campus. It really wasn't a conversation that I was bringing up with anybody. I just heard about it and I would nod. You know me, man. I stay in my lane and I mind my business. Q said, well, it's all water under the bridge now. But I think you need to have a conversation with LJ and tell him what you know. Because it's a lot on the line right now. They're looking at Angela for this, and I know that this has something to do with Arrington. Dude said, really? I got you, bro. I'll do whatever I can to help out. I want to talk to you and LJ anyway. You know I had to leave the police department because of my injuries from that home invasion. Q said, yeah. Now, I was able to go out on injury retirement, so I'm collecting my pension. But that's not going to cut it. I got a new baby at home. Q said, what you thinking? Dude said, well, I know LJ's moved here and he's trying to get a firm here or work with your firm. And I know he doesn't really know the city and the lay of the land. So I was thinking I'd work with y'all and show him around and work closely with him and get in the PI game. What you think? Q said, well, I don't really have a problem with it, but it's definitely something that we're going to have to discuss with LJ. Because I know he has some questions. Dude said, if they were about Travis, I got some answers. Veronica won't like them, though.